it, I would definitely recommend this one right here. You have to borrow. Most likely people don't have this, so get yourself a shovel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this tool right here, and I'm going to dig out some dirt. Let's go. The first step would be to dig in and just loosen up the dirt. I loosened it up a little already. Like this. Loosen up the dirt on either side. Okay. You see it starting to come out in clumps like this. So it's pretty good clump. What you want to do is give it a really good shake. We want to leave as much dirt here as possible. Hitting it, pounding it. This thing works well too to kind of loosen it up. And then you can always reuse this if you have an area that's lacking in grass. You can reuse this, or you can fill in holes with it, or just toss it in the woods. Working my way across the lawn here, and grabbing chunks of dirt, giving them a good shake. Yeah, so it's just about roots left. If you don't have a wheelbarrow, don't worry about it. Make a pile, put it in a giant sheet, and haul it off like that. Grabbing chunks, giving it a really good shake. Now, if you come across any worms, you want to very gently put those babies back in the dirt. You want to keep the worms in the garden whenever possible. So, working my way across. This will probably take me, several hours to be able to do this. Some pretty good work going on. Again, this tool is just so awesome. All right. Keep doing that. And go just like that. 3 feet wide. A little white wormy type thing with a little brown head, little legs at the top. We want to get this out of the garden. We don't want to keep him in there, or her. So, toss them right away. What an earthworm looks like. He's a little guy and it's a little bit cold, so she is not moving very quickly. But this is what they look like for anyone who hasn't seen a worm before. So she's going back into the dirt. She's going to get lots of good stuff today to eat over the winter. So that's what an earthworm looks like. Usually they'll get bigger. Next summer we'll have some really big ones I can show you, and they'll be really wild, moving quickly. Right here I found a night crawler. They are much bigger, as you can see. Still moving slowly. She's cold. It's very cold out here. But still moving, and we're going to put her right back down into the dirt. We want to make sure we keep earthworms moist and in the cool area. If you see one on top of the soil, always dig a gentle hole. Put it inside there, gently cover it up. If you have to give it a little wet down, do that first if it looks dry. A little dip in the water. All right, on to more digging. Okay, here we go. 3 feet by 12 feet. And you may ask, why this size? I don't like it much longer because I like to be able to move around the beds that I'm going to make. And 3 feet is good for me because I can reach into the middle. You don't ever want to walk in the bed or lean in the bed because then that's going to push the soil down. I want it to stay light and fluffy-ish. So that's what I did. As I went, I did this part first here, and then I backed my way that way so that I have not stepped in anything here. You can see the dirt. There are a few little weeds and stuff like that. I just get out the big stuff, and then we'll use a finer tool to get out the little stuff. And it's about noontime. Let's see where the sun is, right there. So that you can see where the shadows are falling. So there are no trees right here that are going to cause shade onto the garden bed. So that's why I didn't choose that end of the yard where all the trees are on that side, because this is where the sun goes. That's where that is. Okay, next I'm going to demonstrate the finer getting out of the weeds with little grass roots and stuff in here. So let me get my special claw tool, and then we'll do that next. Here I have what I call my claw tool. Not sure what the official name of it is, but this is fantastic to use. You can kind of go like this, and it gathers up just the weeds and such, and you can pull them out pretty easily. Just a motion like this, and it really brings out the grass, the weeds, anything you don't want in there, and it leaves the soil behind. So just a motion like that kind of brings stuff out. So I'm going to go through this whole bed and get out this, all the little leftover weeds. You have something with a deeper root, like a dandelion. This tool right here digs very deep down into the dirt, like that, and you can pull out things like dandelions that have deeper roots to it. I've gone through the bed and removed all the finer weeds and such. Just a note about rocks. Leaving a few rocks in is just fine. If you have a lot of rocks, you might want to take most of them out. The rocks do provide minerals to the plants, so rocks are not all that bad. If you're dealing with rocks to begin with in a whole bunch, you do want to remove those. So the next step we're going to do is to give the ground some food, and a number of things can be used. Barnyard manure works well. Make sure it's not from an animal that has been eating hay with seeds in it. Bad idea. What works really well, and I like to use, are chopped up leaves, sawdust, pine needles, any type of all natural bulk stuff that's in small pieces that can be worked in really well. Chicken manure works really well, turkey manure, and usually a lot of times those animals are caged, unfortunately, but that manure is not going to have any seeds in it. And also, we don't want to add any chemical fertilizers because you've done all this hard work, and we want to keep the cancer-causing agents out of the dirt. So I will next get some pine needles for my bed. Here I've piled pine needles on top, and yes, that looks like a lot of pine needles. It is. It's a big stack. And what needs to happen is it has to be worked into the soil 8 to 10 inches down. And this will be food for the plants, as well as helping to retain moisture in the summer, so you don't have to keep watering and watering and watering. And it'll prevent the soil from getting packed in the heat of the summer. So now what I'm going to do is using either the pitchfork if you have one, a shovel if you have one, or a hoe will work well too. So I'll demonstrate using the hoe and the pitchfork in working the pine needles into the soil. And this is very hard work. This is the really, really hard part, in my opinion. So what you need to do is really just start turning it over like this. Pitchfork way down. And dig right into the soil. This is hard to do. So just start mixing and mixing, like that, digging it in. How that would look like with the hoe would be something like this. Back and forth like this. Adding more in as you go. You have to go down pretty deep. Now try not to bend over doing this, because you have a very sore back. Try to use your knees. Keep a nice straight back. You just keep on going like that. Take out large leaves and the larger sticks. Everything else can kind of stay in there. Even a small leaf like this isn't too bad, but a little bit big. The bigger stuff will prevent the seeds, little roots, from going down into the dirt, and they'll go right around this stuff pretty easily. I've now gone through the whole bed and worked in the pine needles into the dirt. It's a lot of work, but they're in there pretty well. And now what I'm going to do, the next step would be to kind of flatten it all out. Not to squish it, but to just spread it out so it's even all the way across. And then we'll be ready for planting. It's all evened out, and we can now put our seeds in, or our plants, or anything we want to plant in here. This can be done it's just about any time of year, as long as the ground isn't frozen. So it's end of November, and this is my bed. It's all set for my March, mid-March planting of spring vegetables in March. Most of the seeds I buy I get from Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds. They offer seeds that are not genetically modified, which means you can collect the seeds at the end of the year and use them for the following year. There are other pure seed companies out there as well, so go online and look. For Baker Creek, you can get them online at www.rareseeds.com. And the best time to get your seeds is probably January. At other times, sometimes the seeds you want run out. Baker Creek has seeds from all over the world, and it's a great variety, many varieties of each type of fruit and vegetable as well. It is now March 22nd in the springtime, and we've had lots of snow this year. It's covered up the bed and kind of packed it down. So what I have done is I've turned over most of the dirt with the pine needles, and I had sprinkled on top of that some ashes from the wood stove. And I will demonstrate a little bit of how to turn over the dirt. You want to go down a good 6 to 8 inches as you turn it over to make it nice and loose for planting seeds. Again, this is probably the best tool for doing this, the pitchfork. And you just step on it, turn over the dirt, just like that, up and down the entire length of the bed. Don't step into the bed. We don't want to pack down the dirt. It's okay to step on the back of the pitchfork to push it down. Make sure you use your knees when you're bending and not don't bend over and do this. You can throw your back out. It's good and light. Be great for planting, which we will do today. So I'll continue down the whole bed, turning it over down a good 6 to 8 inches to get it ready for planting. And level it off somewhat. Any clumps of dirt that I find, I'll break into smaller, very fine pieces